So the first thing we're always looking for is to see if we are adding or multiplying. So right here in between the parentheses, you can see that we're adding. And we like to use our answers to help us. So when we look at our answers, we see x squared, and an x to the third. So right off the bat, let me clear that real quick. Right off the bat, we see x squareds, but I don't see any x to the thirds. So we know it's not this one. All right, so now once we realize we're adding, all we do is add the big numbers. So we have a 1x squared and 3x squared. So 1 plus 3 is 4. So we can get rid of this one right here because it had 3x squared. So we know it's one of these two. Now, these two x's are different. So once we figure out the x's, we got our answer. And so we look, this is the only x I see right there. So he's got to come on down to, it's got to be just 5x. So it looks like the answer was that C down there. Mm-hmm. This right here would be C. So I do think between adding and multiplying, adding is definitely the easier of the ones to do. So, all right. So number 2, let's see if I can get it. There we go. So number 2, so in between our parentheses, we're adding. Okay, so I look at my answers. They all have x squared, so we're definitely looking for x squareds first. And of course, the one thing I did not do is bring up the calculator. So I will say you could always type this in the calculator, but for the most part, I'll just work these out today. So here we've got 5 minus 2. So 5 minus 2 would be 3. And so it's not that one. It's not this one. So it's one of these two. I see the 16, the constants are the same, the 2 16. So it's going to come down to just the x's. So let's get rid of these and look for x's. So I got negative 4x and 12x. And so negative 4 plus 12, excuse me, the rule is if the signs are different, we subtract and keep the sign of the bigger. So 12 minus 4 would be 8. And it's going to be a positive 8 because 12 is bigger. So looks like the answer would be B. All right. Let's go to the next one. Okay. So, all right. So on this one, we see that we're adding because of the signs here. Of course, this is subtraction, but our rule is we do not subtract. So we have to change this to a plus, and then we change everything after, but only in this parentheses. So once you get to this plus sign, then we don't change anything over here. So we change this to a plus, so this becomes a negative 5, a minus x, and a minus 3. All right, so we look at our answers. All these have x squared, so we're looking for x squareds. All right, that's all my x squareds. So we have 2 and then a minus 5. Okay, so my signs are different. One's positive, one's negative. So we subtract 5 minus 2 is 3. And then the bigger number was 5, so we keep the negative. So I need a negative 3. So those mark off. And we'll get rid of our x squareds. All right, so this says 7x and 8x. So let's look for our x's. So we have 5x minus x and then plus 3x. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my two positives first, the 5x and the 3x, and let's add them. So 5 plus 3 would be 8. And then 8 minus an understood 1 right here. So 8 minus 1 would give us 7x. So 7x would be C. And it's also a lot easier when there's multiple choice. Now today I'm going to teach you a little trick because I know this is going to be multiple choice on the multiplying. So we might be able to make the multiplying a little bit easier. All right, so let's clear that. Okay, so this one's definitely multiplying. We're not going to need a trick for this because this is going to be a lot easier. this down here. So this one right here, we don't have to have a trick for this one. So this is multiplying because of the fact that there's no addition or subtraction in between the parentheses and this right here. So we know that we're going to multiply. So we're going to do our mountaintops. So we go from what's on the outside to our first term. And the rule is we multiply the bigs and add the smalls. And so there's only one big right here, and that's -3. So we know it's not this. And then we add the small number. So there's a 1 here and a 1 there. So 1 plus 1 would be 2. So this right here doesn't have a squared, so it's got to be between these two. Okay, and the only difference between these is this is a positive 21, this is a negative 21, so we know that this is going to be 21. So when we multiply, one negative would make the whole thing negative, so it's got to be a negative 21. So the answer is D. So that one right there hopefully wasn't too bad. Hang on, there's only 10 questions. We're moving through this quick. That is not a bad thing. All right, so here's another one where we just have just one thing on the outside right here, and we're multiplying because there's no addition or subtraction in between this. So we're going to do our mountaintops. All right, so our rule is we multiply the bigs and add the smalls. So there's only one big number, 5. All of these have a 5. And then we're adding the small number, so 2 plus 2 is 4. So it's not this one. Okay. So I'm just kind of quickly looking. I noticed that on the next ones, that these are a little different. So let's multiply this and see what happens. So we're multiplying here. So we multiply the big numbers. There's only one big number, and that's 3, but they all have 3s. Here's where they're different. We got 2 here and 1 here. We're adding our little numbers. 2 plus 1 is 3. And this one has a 3, but these both have 2s right there. So it looks like the answer is A. All right. So you doing good with this so far?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Okay, so here is where this is definitely multiplying. Okay, so there's no adding in between these two parentheses right here. So this is definitely multiplying. And here's where we would do the mountaintop here, then on the bottom, mountaintop and mountaintop. Okay. But I want to show you a little trick. Now, this trick won't always get you the answer. It just kind of helps you eliminate some stuff. But if, you're just looking to eliminate some stuff real quick, if you were to multiply the first 2 in each parentheses, okay, so the first 2 in each parentheses would give us 2, and then so we multiply the bigs, add the smalls, so we got 1s right here. That would give me 2x squared. All of these say 2x squared. Okay, so that didn't help. Then if you take the last one in each set of parentheses, and this works no matter how big this is, then you multiply 5 times -1, you get -5. The first one should always be the first one in each set of parentheses, and the last 2 will always be the last number in each set of parentheses. So this should be -5. The last number should be -5. It is not these 2. Okay. Now the middle numbers, you can't just multiply one thing usually. You have to do other stuff. Okay. But like I said, little trick that usually helps you eliminate some stuff is multiply the first 2, multiply the last 2. So the first 2 give you the first one, and the last 2 give you the last number. Okay. And so the 2 mountaintops that are left to help us actually get our answer From this first one, I went to the first one in this parentheses, but I have not gone to the second one. So we got x times -1. That's just going to squish those numbers together, give me a -1x. Then from this second one right here, I've gone to the far one, but I haven't gone to this close one right here. So we multiply the big. So 5 times 2 gives me 10. And then we just have an x right there. So plus 10x. And the signs are different. So we're going to subtract. 10 minus 1 is 9. It's a positive 9 because that's bigger. So the answer would be this right here. So in the end, if you struggle doing all of these mountaintops, then if you just multiply the first two and then multiply the last two, then you should be able to eliminate. And we could have at least narrowed it down to these two answers right here. So like I said, that's a little trick. And it may not be so big on this one, but you're going to see one here in just a second where the problem is huge. And we should be able to eliminate a couple of things just by multiplying the first two and the last two. Or the last ones in each set of parentheses. All right. So let me clear that. All right. So just trying to use this little trick again, just to see if it helps us eliminate. This is definitely multiplying because there's no addition sign right here or subtraction. So we're going to do mountaintops with the first two. So we multiply the bigs, we get 8. We add the smalls. So 1 plus 1 would be 2. So 8 squared roots of 2. Excuse me. So all of these say 8 squared roots of 2, so that doesn't help very much. Then I'm going to multiply the last two in each parentheses. So in this parentheses, I'm going to multiply it with the last one in that parentheses. So this is 2 times -1. So 2 times -1 would give me a -2. So that last number right there should be a -2. Okay, so now we know that at least it's between these two right here. Okay, and so then to actually figure out which one it is, we got to go back. So I've done this mountaintop to the first one. So now I got to do a mountaintop to the second one. So we multiply the bigs. We got we got 2x times -1. So -1 times 2 would give me a -2. And then we just had the 1x. Okay, then we're going to do another mountaintop from this one. And we've done the far one. We need to do the closer one right here. So 2 times 4 is 8. And then there's just 1x. So 8x. All right, so now the signs are different. So we're going to subtract. 8 minus 2 is 6. And we keep the sign of the bigger, so it's a +6. So that's our answer right there. It's got the +6. So even with this, even though technically like I ended up working everything out, it's still easier when you've got multiple choice. You know, it just makes it easier, I think, when you can eliminate stuff as you're doing it. All right. So let me clear this. And number 8. All right, so on this one right here, they're asking us to find the area. So area is length times width. Now, here's what I care about this. This is multiplying, okay? That's the important thing right here. Length times width is multiplying. So I know that whatever I'm doing, I'm going to be multiplying stuff. Okay, so that's where our mind needs to go is multiplying. Now I'm going to clear this out and I'm going to scoot this down a little bit more because I want to see my answers if I can. I can't see. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this over to the side real quick so I can see my answers. Maybe even just draw the picture so that I can scoot and see the answers. We got 2x plus 3 and 5x plus 1. All right, so we're going to scoot down and so we can see our answers here. All right, so when we do this right here, we're remembering that this is area, so we're multiplying. So remember, when you're multiplying, in between the parentheses, you don't have any adding or subtracting. So what's going to go in these parentheses? Well, the length and the width. So we've got 2x plus 3, and we have 5x plus 1. Now, I'm going to use my little trick. I'm just going to multiply the front 2 and the back 2 and just see what happens. So when I multiply the front 2, then we've got 2 times 5 is 10. And we have 1x there, 1x there. So add the littles. So this gives me x squared. Okay, well, this doesn't have 10x squared, doesn't have 10x squared, but these two do. Now I'm going to multiply the last one in each set of parentheses. So multiply the first one in each set of parentheses, multiply the last one in each set of parentheses. 3 times 1 is 3. That's the only one that has a 3. And in this case, we're done. So that's why we like that trick, is sometimes it actually just gives us the answer. So the first 2 in each set of parentheses and the last 2 in each set of parentheses. And usually, just by looking at your answers, you're going to be able to either figure it out or you're going to be able to narrow it down to 2. Let's see. All right, so we're on question 9. We're almost there. Okay, so this question's kind of weird. So I've taught you guys that anytime we have an exponent on the outside, that we do mountaintops. So we now have a new rule. And that's why I don't like this unit is, we teach you stuff and all of a sudden, there's something new that comes up that changes stuff. You cannot distribute an exponent, a little number. Now you can the bigger stuff, but when you have exponents, you cannot distribute when there's a plus or a minus sign in the parentheses. And I hate this rule. This rule kills kids. Most kids forget this rule, and so they end up distributing and they get it wrong. So if you ended up distributing this, you would end up choosing this as your answer, and it's wrong. And they always have this as an answer because they know kids are going to distribute that. So what do we do when there is a plus or a minus sign in these parentheses? Well, this squared right here means to multiply this by itself. So what you actually do is you write this twice. So this is the actual question right here. And this is multiplying, okay? So this is multiplying right here. So we're going to do our little trick right here. We're going to multiply the first one in each set. So 3 times 3 is 9. And then 1x and 1x makes x squared. So it can't be this one right here, but all of these are good. Then we're going to multiply our last 2. And so a -4 times a -4 makes a +16. This is a -16, so it's not going to be that one. But these 2 right now are still good. All right, so we're going to have to work out the middle here to actually get the answer. So to get the middle, we got to go find our other mountaintop. So we need another mountaintop from the first one, and it's going to go to the back one. So -4 times 3 would give me a -12, and then we have an x. And then we need another mountaintop from this one, so we're going to go from here to the inside one. So -4 times 3 would be -12, and then we have another x here. And then we can combine these. Now, when the signs are the same, you add. So these are both negative, so we're going to add and keep the sign. So 12 plus 12 is 24, and we're going to keep that sign. So it'll be a -24, and this is the one that has the -24. So this one right here tends to get kids. Now, there's one more trick that we have up our sleeve that will be the main trick we use. However, I'm not allowed to teach it right now, okay? And so until I'm allowed to teach it, we'll have to stick with this trick right here. But this last trick will keep you from making a mistake on this right here. So even if you don't understand, when you're allowed to distribute and when you're not, when we're allowed to teach you this one last trick that is all calculator, it'll keep you from making that mistake and flat out give you the answer. Okay. So that trick's coming, but we're not allowed to do it yet. So, all right. So clear this, and then we'll have one last question, and we are done. All right. Well, hopefully our trick is really going to help us, because you can see how crazy this looks right here. Okay. And look at our answers, how big they are. And kids are like, oh my gosh, can I just guess C and move on? Well, before we guess C, let's try our trick. Okay. And our trick here is we want to multiply the first two in each set of parentheses. So we multiply the bigs, we get a 3, and then we add the little number. So 2 plus 2 gives me x to the 4th. Okay, well, this doesn't have 3x to the 4th, but all these do. Okay, so I've at least eliminated one. Now we're going to multiply the last ones in each set of parentheses. So in this one, obviously this is the last one, and then this is the last one. Okay, so the first two and the last two, when you multiply those will always be in your answers. If you multiply any others, they combine with other stuff. So 3 times 6 would give me 18, and 18 only. There are no letters. So this 18x, nope. This is a negative 18, nope. We got our answer right here because that has 18. You wouldn't believe how many times that happens on these big ones right here, that you just multiply the first two, multiply the last two, boom. We didn't have to, we should have done mountaintops here, 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 and then we would have had to combine a whole bunch of stuff together to get all this stuff right here. Big, huge, nasty problem. And yet if we just multiply the first and the last, a lot of times you get your answers. So that's why we love multiple choice. Multiple choice just allows us to do little things here and there that make our lives easier. All right, that's all we got for today. So how you feeling about this stuff, especially after seeing the multiple choices? Some of those little tricks make some of this easier?
Yeah, it makes some of it easier, but I just don't like doing it.
I hear you.
Because these are not very easy for me.
No, I completely agree with that. And like I said, when you get to algebra 2, you're a little bit older, you get a little bit more practice on this stuff. Now I'm never going to say that this right here is never easy. There's just so much going on, so many places you can make a mistake. But when you get to algebra 2 and you start doing more of, let me clear this real quick. You start doing more of like this right here, or really these right here. These, I think, when you get a lot more practice in that, I think these will become a lot more easier. But I really think it'll be algebra 2 before you think, oh, yeah, okay, I get this now. This is easy. So, we kind of got to suffer through it this year just to introduce it. And then you get to algebra 2 and you get a lot more practice, and you'll do much better. But yeah, it's when you first see this stuff, it is a lot tougher. So